Now, if you have come across, if you know fundamental of mathematics, you must have known there are something like integers, whole number, your rational numbers, etc. All these things. So in mathematics, we call them as the data type. Basically, in programming, that we name it as. So it's basically defines what type of input or what type of value that we are assigning or we are going to perform some operation on. If you remember, when we first spoke about our first statement, I asked you about what is how do you assign a integer value to a variable a. So you guys told me about 45. So that means this is your integer value. And how can you check in Python? You can do it by using type command. So it's more like English. So the type and of what? A. And you can perform this print operation and you can see the result being pasted on this console. So I'm gonna, since the program runs line by line, please note that this is an interpreter language. That means the program line runs first this statement. If this runs fine, it runs second. Since this is commented, that means it won't be running, and then it goes to third line and so on. So first number 1 and second number 3, and you can see that it's a class of integer. I will tell you about in next further classes about what is class, how to initiate it, what is the benefit of class. But as of now, you can see that this has shown that it's an integer value. But let's just see let's remove this line and check what is the type of the variable that we have taken as an input. So let's edit something and you can have this right away like that. Next thing again, let's print this and then you're good to go. And let's check. Enter first number 3 and you can see it's a class of string. That's a bit important to note about. 5, you have string class. Now let's come to the topic of data types in your Python. Python has fundamentally few data types, which is like your integer denoted by int, you have string denoted by str, you have float, you have other data types like boolean, etc. So here we have string. So let's just do one thing. Let's try to add the two data types, which is like string and string. Let's try to add these values. How does it happen? Let's say, how do we add a plus b? And since we want to bring the output online, what you can do is you can perform print and then you can put the parenthesis and let's see what's the output is. Run. It asks me enter the first number. I'm gonna add 5. Please make sure you have a close look at these inputs. So I have the first variable as 5. Now it says that it's a string class. Now second number will be 0. So let's see the output. So it is 50. And any sane person would tell this is not what exactly 5 plus 0 means like. That means here I come to the next concept, which is called your string concatenation. Now you might be listening to this, what is this like that. So what is string concatenation? Let's just go and do some Google search of English words. So concatenation meaning. So it means a series of interconnected things. That means connected things is what is called as concatenation, right? So that means when we have our first variable being assigned as 5, it was string, and we have second variable assigned as 0, which was also string. So this concatenation happened, which was like connecting 5 and 0, which is your 50. But how about trying to know what will be the actual output of this input? How do you get the actual output of plus and minus? So that's a bit easy. So there's a concept called, third concept we come across, which is called type. We know how to find the type, like string, data type, and other things. And since we are trying to cast one type to another, we name such things as type casting. That means converting one type to another. That's it, simple. You know how to cast iron, you know, you have come across such words called casting, iron casting, and all those things like melding some metal forms into some other shape, that's called casting. But since it's type casting, we're going to be converting the string type into the integer type. So you can see that. How do we do that? There are two ways of doing it. You can perform this typecasting here itself, which is integer followed by a bracket and followed by a bracket. Sure. So integer of A, which will be 5, and integer of B, which is also your 5. Let's see if this stands up to our expectations of 5 plus 0 is 5. So let's say I'm going to enter first number as 5 and the second number as 0. And our result should be 5. So there you go. Now you might seem a bit confused about why this class is still a string class. It's because when you have entered 5 here, the type of 5 was still string because of the input command. But it is this line in line number 5 that has converted 5 from string to 5 to integer. So the second method is to convert right away here. So I can just remove it here. Similarly, I can remove these things. And I can perform this typecasting here itself. So integer of the value that you have taken input and converted. Again, perform it here, integer, and you can have it here. That's it. Now let's run and see how the output is. Now you're gonna be looking at the type of A right away also. Let's say 5, and if I press enter, it shows the class integer. And again, enter second number, it's gonna be 0, 5.